Here each and every day at 8 a.m. for your viewing and listening pleasure as we explore this idea that we call life, as we look at what is in front of us and ask the question, is this real? Is this an illusion? What am I really experiencing here? So today, my thought is that we have a body, we have a mind, but they're not who we are. Our mind controls our body. Our mind controls our emotions. And so therefore, we fully understand that our mind is actually in charge of everything that we experience. Think about that. Your mind controls what your body's doing, either consciously or unconsciously. Your mind is also controlling your experience, your emotions. Your emotions are your response. It's your mind that's triggering that response. And so knowing that your mind is in control, then the key to living the life of your dreams is to become the master of your mind. It's that simple. But it's simple, but it's not easy, is it? So when we become the master of our mind, we take control of where we put our attention. That's really a key thing to understand, is that we have the ability to take control and where we put our attention. So how do you do that? Well, think about this. Just about everything that you're focused on, that you are today, was a habit that was probably developed between the time you were born and the time that you were 7 years old. And then from that point on, it was reinforced over and over and over again. And you say, well, why that? Well, because when we're 0 to 7, guess what? Our brain is in theta state. When our brain is in theta state, we're in hypnotic state. So whatever our parents say, whatever the schools say, whatever the television says, whatever anything says, guess what? It becomes who we are. We become habits with that. We hear the comment that my emotions and my mouth get me in trouble. That's because we're reacting and we're not responding. And you see, what is reaction? Reaction is a habit. This happens, I react in this way. Well, if we take control and we become the masters of our mind, then what? We respond as opposed to react. And so my way of working with this is to build habits of thinking, new habits of thinking. First off, know who you are. Know what's of value to you. And that's one of the things that I truly get, is when you know your highest values. Like for me, becoming more aware. That's my number one value. My number two value is teaching how to become aware and experience a life filled with love and fulfillment. That's my number two value. My number three value is building community who honors this type of teaching, where we can come together and love and support each other. My number three value. My number four value is learning about human behavior and spirituality. My number five value is my personal health and well-being. My number six value is being financially free to do what I want, when I want, how I want. So I've got those values. I know that's the hierarchy. Those are what I value most. I spent years discovering them in the ways that I've discovered them. So now what I do is I build habits of thinking that support that. I build habits of thinking that I respond and don't react to situations. I built a habit of pausing before I say something. That's a really big one. Are you listening to that? If you know that you're emotionally going to react, that's your thing and it gets you in trouble, then you've got to develop the simple habit of pausing. You know, something's happening. I feel this emotion coming up within me. So I'm going to pause. Give myself 3 seconds. Think about that. If you give yourself 3 seconds, that's enough time to ask yourself a question and not blurt out all this nonsense and hatred and venom. And you can respond and really realize that when someone says something, they're not saying it to tick you off. They're saying it because it's going to please them. Realize that people aren't that aware. People do things. They do things to please themselves. to release whatever's going on, to make them feel better. What happens, though, is we take it personally. And you see, when you're a master of your mind, you understand that no one does anything to you, but your perception of what they do is what does it to you. So who's responsible for your perception? You are. I'm responsible for my perception. You're responsible for yours. When you say something to me, I'm responsible for how I perceive it. And here's the key thing. I'm going to share this with you. You can't be responsible for how someone else sees it because you don't know where they're coming from. You have no idea what's going on in their mind. What has been their life experience? What might be their triggers? You got no clue. I mean, I'm in 48 years of marriage, gang. I don't know what's going on in my wife's mind. But here's what I do know is I'm the master of my mind. I know that she's the master of her mind. So we've decided as masters of our individual minds to have some agreements. And the number one agreement that we have is that we have to ask for what we want when we want it. Now that takes all of the guesswork out of a relationship because I never, ever, ever worry about what my wife's thinking. Because if she doesn't tell me, I'm not responsible. You know what? I'm pretty aware. I've been with her a long time, but you know what? When I ask, so I'm feeling an energy with you. Is there something I need to be aware of that you're going through, or is this something you're just dealing with on your own? That's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, especially when you've got the agreement. I mean, when you have an agreement, you agree to it. There's no discussion about it. You've agreed. This is our decision that we will ask for what we want when we want it. So if she says to me, says, Lee, did you do this? And I said, did you ask? And she says, no. I said, didn't do it. Well, she can't get mad at me. Why? Because we have an agreement. I'm honoring my part of the agreement. Do you see how easy that is? I'm honoring my part of the agreement. Did you ask? Did I give you a yes, I'm going to do that? I didn't. Then I'm in integrity. And isn't that the most important thing about being in relationships? It's about being in integrity. Now, here's a key thing I'm going to share with you. When you become the master of your mind, you're always in integrity with yourself first. You can't be integrity with others if you're not in integrity with yourself. So if you're looking to be the master of your mind, I invite you to look at that first. So master of your mind, build conscious habits of thinking that become unconscious patterns of thinking. Also, pause. When you feel an emotion come up, pause before you react. Number 3, create agreements with people in your life. Number 1 agreement I would recommend is agreement that we ask for what we want when we want it. Otherwise, we have no responsibility. Do that. So with that, I'm starting gatherings tomorrow. So if you'd like to be a part of a gathering with Agape where we come together in the evening, and the gathering will be the East Coast and the Central Time Zone. They will gather at 6:30 Central Time or 7:30 Eastern Time. Then we have a gathering for Texas that's at 7:30 Central Time. And we have a gathering for the Mountain Time Zones and the Pacific Time Zones. That's at 8:30 Central Time or 7:30 Mountain, 6:30 Pacific. If you want to be a part of that, let me know and I'll send you the Zoom link. And the purpose of these gatherings are, instead of me just talking like this, your face and everyone else's face will be on a Zoom call and we'll get to share, we'll get to connect, and we'll get to explore together. In this time that we're in, I think community is extremely important. So I'm creating a venue so that can happen. So if you are interested, you can write a comment in the section below or send me an email at rev.lee@agapespiritualcenter.com. Again, rev.lee@agapespiritualcenter.com. So thank you for being with me. And the greatest gift you can give me is share this message, share the idea that we're here every day at 8 a.m. for your viewing, listening, and for your inquisitive nature to explore life at a deeper level. And if no one says this to you, I will. I love you and I accept you just the way you are. Go create a great day because only you can. Aloha.